Hey, good morning, 450. How are you doing today? I'm just getting up, having some coffee. I've been reading through the reflections and enjoying that, and wanted to give a little feedback because I had some interesting things come up in the reflection. So I've put together a quick little review of reflection on reflections and how we're going to refine the assignment going forward. Yesterday in class, well, not to the class, but sort of on the side, Kirby had asked, how long should a reflection be? And, I gave him sort of well, it should be as long as you need to reflect. And really, I spent some time reflecting on that and decided y'all deserve a better answer than that. And that I was probably making some assumptions about your liberal arts education here at St. Thomas that are dangerous assumptions. And it's only fair that I probably refine and structure your reflections in a way that I think are valuable. And of course, I always go to the dictionary to help me, either the dictionary or rock stars to help me understand and define things. In this case, a dictionary. But really, this last part of this sentence is careful consideration. And so I want to outline for you what I think is careful consideration in our reflection papers going forward. But first, just quickly talk about why reflect. And you all probably get this, but it certainly came up in some cases that somebody or some people aren't getting it. And so the first point of value in reflecting is to learn from your mistakes and, more importantly, maybe learn from your successes. And maybe this is a little trivial or obvious, but in a process that's challenging as it is with design thinking, there are maybe not so much going to be mistakes, but you're being asked to do and learn things that you haven't done before. And especially in this interview process, and to learn how to do it well is going to require that maybe some interviews don't go so well. Some people are reflecting upon that. And so while I don't want to call that necessarily a mistake, I rather sort of think of it as, okay, how am I doing? What am I doing well? What am I not doing well? Where can I improve? But also to reflect on your successes and so that you can digest, hey, that worked, and I want to take those things into the next interview, for example. Reflection gives you great ideas. And if we don't take time to be thoughtful about what we're doing, we definitely are going to preempt the opportunity of having those breakthrough moments. Daydream a little bit if you want before you write in a reflection. Go back to the process and when you were in the moment and think about what's going on and what you learned from your interviews. You need to take time personally to reflect even before you unpack, and maybe reflect as a team as well. That's very helpful, but it's going to produce great ideas and new thinking. And maybe the most important thing about your reflection is that it actually allows and helps me to help you. I need to know what you're experiencing. I need to know what you're thinking, and then I can adapt as I am here to what's going on in the process. So it really does help me help you. And it gives us all a sense of perspective on what we're accomplishing, what we're not getting done, and how to move forward. All right, so going forward, here's sort of a rough outline of what I would like to see in your reflection papers. How you're feeling about your challenge space. Is it making sense to you? Do you feel lost or adrift? Do you feel like you're zeroing in on things? And then I also want you to reflect on how the design thinking process and the space of that is making you feel. Some of you are definitely talking about being energized and how much information you're learning, but you never thought you would learn. This is all good stuff. Some of you feel frustrated and maybe you feel like you're behind some timeline or process. That I want to hear. And beyond that, in one reflection, I got really good suggestions about our process internally and how some things might improve that. That's helpful. I'll be implementing some of that tomorrow. And always share your thoughts about how team management is going. And you guys need to really understand that one of the primary skills leaving college and going forward is being able to manage time and people. I know it's a cliche, but it's real. And don't ever complain to me about that, because that's something you need to learn how to do. But I do want to hear about the challenges, because that's natural, and I might have suggestions to help. I might not. So a full reflection of what's going on for you has enormous value to both you and me. And so with that, I'd like to just sort of talk about where we're headed tomorrow with most teams. And we're going to sort of finish up a couple of teams' POVs. We're going to get hopefully all teams moving on defining through analogy. And I know a couple of teams are basically there and ready. And so what do we mean by define through analogy? I'm going to use Paige and Megan's project and challenge as an example, because they got to a POV yesterday. While not perfect, is going to allow us to move forward to the define phase. And two pieces of information came up in their POV that are going to be useful. One includes the idea of changing habits, and the other around very specific and surprising control issues with folks and their eating disorders. So habit change and control issues. And the question we all start to ask when we've done our POV and we see those things. I'll give you another quick example. In Luke, James, and Tim's project, two issues that come up are confidence in searching and getting an apartment, and the time and investment in that process. So they have two ideas they're working with. Paige and Megan are working with habit changing and control issues. And so we ask, what companies are really good at doing those things with us? So in the case of Paige and Megan, what companies are good at getting us to change behavior or give us a sense of control, or both? And we, Paige and Megan and I talked a little bit about this after class, and one of my first two answers were Uber and Airbnb. Sort of struck me as companies we could look at as analogies to who does really well at getting us to change certain behaviors and habits and gives us a sense of control over our process with them. And then the next thing to do in that is to answer, how do they do it? And with Uber, how do I get a sense of control, and how to, really well is that they give me data about what's happening at my fingertips when I want it. If you haven't used Uber, this won't make sense to you. But the sense of control comes from the immediacy and relevancy of information about my travel needs around town in a taxi cab sort of context. Airbnb not only gives me confidence, but I think also makes changing behavior easier for me by providing beautiful imagery of the homes I might want to rent. But in that space, I think, are they giving me confidence? Yes. Does that give me a sense of control? Maybe. And so that was a question that came up for me. But again, beautiful imagery, ease of search, data at my fingertips when I'm on it, that immediacy and relevancy are ideas that speak to changing habits, giving a sense of control. And then the last step you're going to go through tomorrow is then to brainstorm. How do those ideas, or how can they, translate to your challenge space? And this is where the magic can happen, because you get to go anywhere you want. It doesn't have to be technically feasible. It doesn't have to be inexpensive to execute on. You get to brainstorm. How do we do that? And from that, we begin prototyping. And prototyping is the next phase of empathy testing. So that's where we're headed tomorrow. Feedback on reflections on reflections, where we're headed. Hope this helps. Look forward to seeing everybody tomorrow.